Hello, Thish Gaming here, this time to discuss Restoration or Enhancement in the Hunter DPS group. So, the biggest pushback, and I don't mean pushback in the sense of people being negative, but the biggest pushback in the sense of people having a differing opinion about the math behind my selection has been regarding an Enhancement Shaman versus a Restoration Shaman in the Hunter group. A major point of this is that Unleash Rage, the Shaman on crit buff, where they give 10% AP to their group, only affects melee AP. And that a melee Shaman will make it much more difficult to have a drum rotation on the Hunters, and the melee Shaman will not benefit from the drums of the Hunters, whereas if you had a Resto Shaman, the Restoration Shaman would be both giving and benefiting from the drums. To the right, I have the Hunter group comps. I say 3, but in this case 4. In each one that doesn't include a survival, it's presumed that they're in another group. You could bring the survival back and replace one of the Beastmasters. This is just presuming that you're running 4 Hunters in your comp. So, a big part of this discussion is melee weaving. Currently, the Hunter Discord, which actually I'm not a part of, but the Hunters have been telling me, is that melee weaving is currently being theory-crafted as the optimal DPS rotation for Hunters, provided that it is practical mechanically, aka the boss allows it. The execution level is, however, much higher. There's more movement, you have to time it correctly so that you're not losing DPS. Many Hunters will most likely not opt to melee weave, either just to free up their brain power or because they don't want to execute on it. The main thing that this changes for our purposes of discussion is the practicality of drums. If Hunters are melee weaving, then they're standing just outside of melee range and then dipping in often. That means that they are much further away from where a Restoration Shaman would want to stand, which would be further back out of the range of any potential boss mechanics. If they aren't melee weaving, then of course they're going to be closer to where the Shaman is, as far away from the boss as they can be. So this is one of the biggest cruxes of, if this is the optimal way to play, then I think it becomes hands down that Enhancement Shaman better. But I think there are reasons, even if this isn't true, that an Enhancement Shaman would be good. But first off, let's start off with why have a Restoration Shaman? Well, one, easier drum usage if melee weaving is not a thing. You'll be standing closer. You'll be able to benefit from all of the Hunter ones, so your Shaman will have 5% haste as well. And then just composition requirements. You need to bring a certain amount of healers. If you can have a healer sit in a DPS group and it's fine, then you can bring more healers or have other groups swap out their healers. And you're not losing anything on the totem side because a Restoration Shaman can spec into the improved Grace of Air totem, much like an Enhance can. This brings us to why have an Enhance. And I think this will be easier drum usage if melee weaving is a thing. Hunters will be generally closer to melee range and able to give/receive the buff from the Shaman. Drums to pets, so pets benefit from drums. If they are positioning more in melee, the Shaman is in melee, then potentially they can all benefit from drums. And Unleash Rage applies to pets. I have a screenshot of a log that was a gruel attempt on the beta, and this is the Hunter's damage. And as you can see, the Ravager is 27% of his damage. Overall, he did 1400 damage, so this is about 378 damage, or DPS, that this Hunter pet was doing, and you are going to be increasing that as the Shaman. It's speculated that it's about 40 DPS, though because pets will scale in BC, their AP and will go up as the Hunter gets more geared, so it's not a final estimate. This is more of a guesstimate. The other thing is that Enhancement Shamans are looking to be quite good DPS. The fact that they can put Wind Fury on both weapons and they have access to Flurry, means that they can actually put out a substantial amount of dual wield melee DPS. And one of the biggest buffs that you are getting from a triple beast mastery group is Ferocious Inspiration. When a hunter's pet crits, it gives the group 3% increased damage. So generally between 6 to 9%, depending on the number of BM hunters. This is why potentially you are getting a greater benefit out of having the Enhancement Shaman, because the Enhancement Shaman will be doing 6 to 9% more damage, whereas a Restoration Shaman will have pretty much zero benefit from this additional damage. So really, it isn't the hunters that benefit from having an enhance in their group. Not, at least not directly. It's the hunter's pets, which do a substantial portion of their damage, and the Enhancement Shaman themselves, who benefits from being in the group. So another thing to note is why I include ferals, just as a secondary thing. Leader of the Pack is one of the best buffs for hunters and their pets. The hunter pets only give Ferocious Inspiration when they crit. There aren't a great number of ways to increase your pet crit, but one of them is Leader of the Pack. So Leader of the Pack will make the hunters themselves do more damage, and make their pets do more damage, and their pets provide the damage buff to the party more often. Also, the Feral Druid gets their threat from their damage, for the most part. They have some flat threat modifiers, but really they scale their threat with their damage much more so than a warrior. That's also why they scale well into the game. They do more damage, they get more threat. Giving them 6 to 9% more damage is approximately 6 to 9% more threat, increasing the ceiling for your entire raid. That being said, when the Feral is DPSing, aka they're not tanking a fight, I could definitely see a world in which you want to swap in a warrior to battle shout the pets, even. And when you do that, and you're battle shouting the shaman as well, battle shouting the Enhancement Shaman and the pets for about 100 DPS per pet, so 300 DPS plus the Enhancement Shaman DPS, which I imagine is slightly higher. You do this, and then you are getting a massive boost to this group as well. In conclusion, if melee weaving is the optimal DPS strategy for hunters, then Enhancement Shaman are clearly better. The primary beneficiary of enhancement in the hunter group is not the hunters, it's their pets and the Enhancement Shamans. And this conclusion requires some guesstimates. I am very interested to see some more raid testing and some testing with specific groups to see if it's worth the upside downside when compared to drums. That being said, it's always an option that if you don't have the Enhancement Shaman, you can run the Restoration Shaman. It may lose out a little bit in that group's DPS, but you sometimes need a healer, and this is a fine place to sub a healer into your comp. Likewise, if you have any comments, questions, subs, then leave them below. I try and respond to most everyone, and I appreciate you watching my content. Thanks.